I don't know if I provide a safe space. I provide a space for character development. I provide a space for high character and pride in your job, because I think that is a personal thing, that it's not about coming in here and doing prideful work. It's about you being an individual that takes pride in whatever work that you do, and you're choosing to operate in here, and I'm the beneficiary of hiring somebody that has strong work ethic, that takes pride in what they do, that has good, strong character. Franchising is a 50 stores in 50 states, is 2,500 operations, multi-billion-dollar business. I'm okay with the mistake. It's, are you going to continually make the same mistake? Then I'll have a problem with it. Results and survival are more important than feelings. So where I want to receive everybody's feelings and I want people to feel safe, it's only safe if you value honesty, if you value truth, if you value work ethic. And we are back for another interview in Chapter 2 of Documenting the Journey. How are you?
I'm doing good.
You doing good?
How are you doing?
There's an in particular podcaster that every time you ask him how he's doing, he's like, better than I deserve. And I'm like, I don't know exactly how I necessarily feel about that. I mean, I think that Coffee Junkiez turned 19 November 8th. 19? Yes. Dang. So it's like, I don't know. I think that I want to say that I deserve a little bit more, but I'm not bad. I shouldn't complain. It's been a long journey getting to this point in general. Okay, so I ask everybody this as a first question. How long have you worked for me?
Just I want to say a week over 6 months.
Okay, so and honestly, you might be I'm sitting back thinking about all the interviews, and you might be the actual newest person as far as the entire group. But again, that was the intended, was that we had gotten to a space where it's like I have not been able to interact with everybody. So this was the opportunity, and that's what I said, you'd be the newest person that volunteered to actually do an interview and see what kind of questions actually came out of it. So any which way, it's a conversation, and I guess I'm here prepared for whatever questions you might actually have for me, and I will answer them to the best of my ability.
I think I have some pretty good questions.
Okay.
At least ones that are good to answer.
No. And honestly, I've had them all over the place, but it's a discovery thing, and so no, I'm totally. It doesn't matter. I've had some technical questions, and I've had some creative questions, and some business questions, and some personal questions. So it really has been all over the place. But I'm ready for whatever you have. Okay.
Is it okay if I check my phone?
Oh, absolutely. No. Again, don't worry about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Are you ready for first question?
I am.
Okay. How do you, as a business owner, give back to your community and create a safe place for both customers and employees alike in the building?
It's okay. So my personal feeling is that too many people give back for the photo op. So I just want to generally say I've given back in a lot of ways, but it's just not something that I normally talk about. That said, there are some public things that I have done. We have been very active. It's more so, obviously, 19 years inside of the Kokomo community. We did one time where we went to a food pantry and asked them what was it that they were needing the most. And they were like, we need female toiletries. So I gathered up the entire management group. We went to Sam's Club and loaded up on all types of regular toiletries and feminine needs. And then we showed up at the food pantry to make a major donation itself. Every year, let me back up. I am not a Kokomo native. I have been in Kokomo for the last 30 years, but I didn't grow up in Kokomo. I grew up on the south side of Indianapolis. My wife is a Kokomo native, or my ex-wife now. But when we started the business, we started, again, November 8th, and we were coming up on We Care. I didn't know what We Care was, but she was like, We Care is such a huge Kokomo thing. And I'm like, well, what's We Care about? Well, they raise money for kids. I'm all about that. So I was like, okay, I have something here that we can actually get behind. So the first year that we were opened, we hadn't even been open 30 days. And We Care is a telethon that runs from Friday night all the way through Sunday. And they depend on volunteers to actually run the telethon. So we provided all of the coffee for all of the volunteers so that they didn't have to worry about having caffeine, hot drinks in the middle of the telethon that obviously runs through the cold months. It was so gratifying. We haven't missed a year since. So for 19 years, we have done We Care, and the volunteers at this point know to count on Coffee Junkiez is going to cater the entire event, and that is our really big donation that we make every single year. And it's not even about the public. I know volunteers are required in order for this to be put on, so I do what I can to support the volunteers that are actually giving their time. And then we get into other charities and whatnot. I think very highly of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I have had many ways in general that I give back, and there are many ways on a bigger scale that I want to give back as we grow and expand. You just have two factions. One faction says if your heart is going to be, if it's in the right place, then you should give, and you should have all of the photo op and get all of the recognition that you can. And the other side says if you truly care and you're giving for truly good-natured out of the goodness of your heart, you shouldn't need any recognition for it. And I see where both sides are coming from, and it's like I've participated in this side of it, and I have most definitely participated in this side of it, and I don't talk about those things because then I would be looking for recognition, and that was never the point of giving back and supporting to begin with. When it comes to employees and customers, I don't know if I provide a safe space. I provide a space for character development. I provide a space for high character and pride in your job, because I think that is a personal thing that it's not about coming in here and doing prideful work. It's about you being an individual that takes pride in whatever work that you do, and you're choosing to operate in here, and I'm the beneficiary of hiring somebody that has strong work ethic, that takes pride in what they do, that has good, strong character. And I think that I'm giving the customers a place to come for exceptional service and a high quality product, because I think that is loyalty that is stronger than trying to build loyalty just based on price. So I think I have definitive reasons as to why it is a good work environment, because it's a work environment of A players that they want to work with other A players. And when I can put a group of you together, you pridefully as a group excel, and that attracts other people and offers them the opportunity to come to be a part of something special. But I've also, that's where I say I have not made a safe space. If you come in here that you're just looking to do the bare minimum to draw a paycheck, or you come in here and you don't take pride in your work, we quickly weed you out, because most of you are in here that you really care about what you do. And it's not necessarily about caring about this place. That's your personal character. You care about what you do. You care about what goes out the door because it has your name on it. And you want to work with other like-minded people. So I'm providing an environment for people that really take pride in their own work to come participate in a group of people that really cares about the work that they do. And from the customer aspect of it, I'm just trying to give them as many reasons to be loyal to the brand as possible. I've had a couple of them that they've sent their kids here because they know I'm not going to cut their kids any slack, that we have high standards here. So it's not necessarily that I take up where the parent left off, but I'm reinforcing that parent wants to see their child be in an environment where people are prideful and they do hold themselves accountable and they're not victims and they're very prideful about the work that they do because that is what the parent wants their kids to be exposed to. I'm saying that because that's what's most important. I understand the empathy of providing a safe space for somebody to be able to just come be themselves. But I don't want to lie to you or lie to the camera and be like, I am a safe space, because I recognize what that terminology is. And I'm like, I'm not a safe space harbor, because if somebody comes looking for that, but they don't want to contribute on a higher level, well, then they find out I'm not a safe space. Because I hold myself to this standard, and I don't hold you guys to that standard, but I hold you guys to this standard. And if somebody comes in here wanting to operate here, they find out this is not the place for them. And they could very well walk away saying that wasn't a safe space for me. And I would be like, as I've tried to tell everybody, the group is more important than any one person. And if one bad person is allowed into the group, they will drag down the performance of the entire group of people. And it's my job to protect the group of people. I've had an analogy where I'm like, what is the job of the killer honeybee? The job of the killer honeybee is to protect the colony, to protect the hive, because the hive itself is more important than any one bee inside the hive. So I do what I can to look out for the group, knowing from time to time we're going to put an individual in the group that they're not going to resonate with what the group is trying to do. And I'm going to be up to the task of having to remove them from the group as a whole. I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for. I'm trying to be honest, because in a lot of ways, my inner circle will say that I'm brash, that when they talk about what I want out of you guys, they're watering me down. They just know, don't water me down. My inner circle group knows that I'm going to be very blunt, very direct and to the point, because I need results. And then generally when they translate out to everybody else, they're going to put more of a nicer edge to it, because they know that I'm a decent person. I'm not trying to offend people. I sincerely hope I don't offend you when I say this. I am a Generation X, and Generation X is very much fuck your feelings. It's not that I don't have feelings. It's not that I don't have empathy for other people's feelings. Truth and honesty are more important than feelings. Results and survival are more important than feelings. So where I want to receive everybody's feelings and I want people to feel safe, it's only safe if you value honesty, if you value truth, if you value work ethic, if you have a high character and you want to develop that and you want to grow. I am a very safe space. If you want to be a victim in life, if you want to give little effort and expect an oversized return, I'm not a safe space. And I'm just trying to be honest.
No, I think that is like the best answer you could have given, because when you think about it, a business, it is it relies very heavily on the workers. So sometimes you do just have to be like, fuck your feelings, because you have to protect the group and make sure things are going efficiently. Because when things are going efficiently and everybody's putting in their best effort, to a point, it does become a safe space because you get to work and you know the people around you are going to help build you up and help improve you and help keep you in line.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, most of you don't, it's like, I've tried to explain this to all of you, but I feel like it does go in one ear and out the other because it's a lot. I try and explain how $1 in does not mean that I keep that dollar. Like, my suppliers take a cut of it, and the employees take a cut of it, and the landlord takes a cut of it, and the utilities take a cut of it, and the insurance takes a cut of it. But the easiest way that I have found out to try and get through to all of you is when you get your paycheck and you go over to, well, this is how much you made, and now this is how much you get because all the taxes. And you see SUDA, FUTA, FICA, Social Security. Those are all of your taxes breakdown. I have to match that. So when you see that that's how much they took out of your check, I have to match how much. So I pay you, and then the government taxes you, and whatever they tax you, I have to match that tax on top of what I actually pay you. And most people don't realize that all of these different filings and fees that are required to be paid out of the business. So if I don't hold people to a higher standard, I don't keep the doors open. So if I don't keep the doors open, then I'm not protecting the group as a whole. And even right now, I'm very appreciative that you understood where my answer was coming from in general. Because one, I want to be honest, but most people, that they get this, oh, you're a small business, you must be a millionaire. That is such a fallacy. Like, couldn't be furthest from the truth. Entrepreneurship is hard. Running a business is hard. Food and beverage is incredibly hard. And I know you hear what I'm like, cut that gallon jug open, because we need those ounces of salad dressing or sauce, because we run through 1,000 of them a year. And if you don't get those ounces out times 1,000 bottles or jars, that's waste, and that's money that I literally paid a supplier to bring it in, and then we threw it in the trash, and I didn't turn it back into money. I have to think about the overall survival of the group and the business to make sure that I'm providing a place that is worth working, that is worth contributing to something bigger than yourself, and not everybody gets that.
Yeah. I think it's easy to look at it from an outside perspective where you're like, oh, it's just that little bit. But when you're actually on the inside, it does add up because, I mean, you're spending so much money on all this product. Think about what kind of helped me understand is putting myself in your shoes. Like, if I bought a gallon of milk from the store, I'm not going to throw it away when it's still like a third full, because I don't want to waste. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I don't want to waste my money. So why would I want to waste anyone else's?
And that is a high character statement. And I'm saying that because not everybody thinks that way. They will not waste it at home because that's mine, but they will go into their place of work and they'll be like, oh, well, it's not mine, so what do I care? And they'll throw it away. And that right there is, I'm looking to put a group of high character people together because A players want to work with A players, and I want a place for everybody to thrive and have that be grateful that there is a place that they're all able to go and operate in a higher standard, and see that they are serving a customer that appreciates that it's, again, giving the customer all of those reasons to be loyal. And I'm trying to do the same thing with the employees, because I'm like, as a team, if you constantly had to work with people that weren't cutting it, well, then you would have to be constantly having to pick up somebody else's slack. Everybody has a bad day, but when somebody has a string of bad days and then the rest of you have to pick up after them, you start to become very intolerant of that. And it's like, I get it. So I'm always looking at the group going, how is the group functioning? Is there somebody that is getting in the way of the group literally achieving the best result? And then having to be unapologetic when I call out that individual and be like, you're not living up to the standards of the group. you're having a negative effect on the group, and then we get like the hardest thing for me to do is to fire somebody. But as the killer honeybee, I have to be looking at protecting the colony and what is best for the group, not any one individual. Okay. Next question.
Okay, this one's a little bit longer, but...
No, you're fine, dear. However, you're totally fine.
Okay, thank you. Having owned Pizza Junkiez, Coffee Junkiez, like in all these different brands, have you considered, or do you have any plans to modernize the advertisements or appeal to a younger, more wider audience by, let's say, like starting a TikTok account and doing trends with the employees, since a younger audience would be reached and have more appeal, per se?
So, yes. Short answer is yes. What I'm trying to get at is that inevitably, like, everybody has their comfort zone, and I understand growth happens outside your comfort zone. You always have to be pushing. When I started the business, like, the internet didn't exist. It wasn't an advertising platform. It wasn't a social media like it is today. So when I started, I had to learn advertising in radio, and I had to learn advertising in print advertising, and yearbooks and banners on baseball diamonds, and my biggest success was the Powered by Coffee Junkie sign that I was putting on the backs of everybody's cars, because I was willing to try anything to see what stuck. Then I missed the boat on the birth of Facebook. I say that like that because it took me a couple years to get with it, but then we went out of our way that we built a pretty decent following on Facebook. And I knew that at that point that Facebook was a young thing, and that when adults started paying attention to Facebook, that the kids would not think that it was cool anymore, and that they would go to something else, and then that something else became Instagram, and then out of that became the something else became Twitter, and then the something else became TikTok, and then the something else became, what's the other, Snapchat. And there is so many of them something else's that it has become hard to truly keep up with, because we do have a Facebook account. We do have a Instagram account. We do have a TikTok account. Keeping up with them and staying relevant with all of the different types of content that work specific for that platform, for a small business, it is a lot to keep up with. But I am a consummate tester, and we will keep trying, and we will keep putting out that content. But to more directly answer your question, coffee is universally loved. Your generation is not embracing coffee the way that previous generations have. And we are in the process right now of rolling out boba, which I know is something that is very popular with your generation and generations under you. We are in the process of rolling out what we're calling energies, which is a vast mixture of syrup flavors, starting with Red Bull, that is being tapped off with our different soda flavors. And we are really going headfirst into dirty sodas, which it's like my generation is like, just give me a Coke, give me a Sprite. Your generation is, no, I want cream and I want 5 other flavors mixed in with it, and I want my own version of a suicide drink. But that's fine. I can understand it, and I can embrace it to the tune of being creative and creating these different specialty beverages. And again, Coffee Junkiez is 19 years old. This year, we are making probably the biggest, I don't even want to say change, but addition to the menu that we've made in a long time, all because of me recognizing your generation wants a different type of beverage. You still want your caffeine, but you want it in a different form. You still want your sugar, but you want it in a different form. And I'm trying to make sure that Coffee Junkiez is staying relevant with that. so that we're still serving the customer base that we've been serving, but making sure that we have the menu items that actually speak to your generation. And it is coming. We are in the midst of rolling all of that stuff out now. Because yes, we want to stay relevant with what is relevant for my generation. Because I'm sitting there going, you got the baby boomers and Gen X, and then the millennials, and then Gen Z and
Gen Alpha.
And Gen Alpha, which I find that funny that they're calling them Gen Alpha, but yet to see whether they actually live up to that. But when I say I find it funny, generally it is the alpha male that the women have labeled as toxic masculinity. And here lately, I have been seeing women coming out with videos for toxic femininity. And I think that it is so funny that everybody's going overboard with all of these labels, like gotta label it something. You just named a whole generation alpha, but yet today you're demonizing the alphas.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
I don't know how all of that's actually going to work out, and I'm not big on the labeling. But again, I come back to that being Gen X, and I have found that there is a new label called the Sigma male, and I resonate with that, or at least the meaning that they are assigning to that a whole lot more. I know that I'm not beta. I know I'm very capable of being alpha, but my competitiveness is I compete with me every day. I'm trying to be a better version of myself every day. Alphas generally have an ego, and they want to go out there and make everything a competition and always compete with everybody. I don't feel a need to compete with everybody else. But I do think that it's just oddly funny that you would name an entire generation that while you're demonizing it at the same time. Because I'm not going to demonize toxic femininity. Like masculinity and femininity, like they're opposites in some ways, and they're supposed to complement each other. And yes, you do have toxic people, but putting a negative label on masculinity or femininity, I think that it's counterproductive in general. So again, I'm going to come back to that. I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm trying to be as honest and as forthcoming as possible. And that does come back to the Generation X, where I've got an empathy meter. I'm really good about seeing things from other people's perspective and feeling their pain. But then when it comes to the hard stop and the answer, it is very much fuck your feelings.
Yeah, and you did answer my question. You answered it pretty well too, and it shows that you're a good owner and maturity, that you're not trying to always compete with others, but you're always trying to better yourself instead, and expanding in ways that are comfortable to you, in ways that, how the energies in boba, which was a great idea, and I love them, so target audience reached. But I just think it's really cool that you're able to expand in diversity with things in your way, instead of competing or trying to be like everybody else.
Well, and I will say as a more direct, so Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez is finally starting to roll out our franchising opportunity. When you franchise, you have to have a national ad campaign that everybody pays into. The reason I bought Scared Rabbit was so that we could manage our own national ad campaign, so that as we grew and all of these stores were collectively paying into an ad campaign, that I could go out and hire the best and brightest that specialized in YouTube, that specialized in TikTok, that specialized in Instagram, and their job will only be to focus on those platforms and focus on our brands. So while right now we're probably doing it badly, or at least not as good as others, but you can see that the others that are killing it, they're paying a lot of money for the expertise to kill it. I'm willing to test, and we're learning as we go. But as the brands build and I have more establishments that are paying into the national ad campaign, the whole intent is to be able to go out and hire the best people so that our advertising and marketing on all of those platforms just continually gets better and better so that we're reaching the target. Because that's the thing. Every one of those platforms speaks almost to a generation. So it's like we have to be good on all of them. And without a bunch of money, it's not, you can't be good on all of them. But it's that building blocks where we are headed to a point where when I can employ 10 people that are the best of the best, and it will be each one of their jobs to be really good at individual platforms and put all of their effort just behind Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez. So slowly but surely, it will happen.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question.
This one is more of like a funny question that I needed to ask because I would have been so mad if I didn't ask it. But okay, if all the Coffee Junkiez, Pizza Junkiez managers got into a gladiator style fight, who do you think is the most likely to win and why?
Oh, wow. I mean, the thing is the fantasy of what you're saying, like if you go off the deep end on that side of it, they would all have like their own superpower that they would be bringing into the ring. Because like if you get into the reality of it, like Matt's gonna win. I mean, what are you? I mean, 6'7".
Oh no, I'm only 6'4".
So you're taller than 6'4". The point is, he's the biggest.
So
okay,
he's
so he's in a normal, he's going to win. But that's where we get into if you start getting into the X-Men and every one of them has a superpower, I would still be willing to bet on Rebecca because I call her the ninja. She's so small and unassuming, but she has the power to radiate her energy. And if she had her own little special weapon, I wouldn't put it past her to be the one that's walking out on the other end. But I also, like, man, I mean, Angel, like, she might be an angel, but she's capable of being...
Yeah, I was thinking Angel too.
I know, so I'm looking at all of them, and I'm like, man, Katie is not somebody that I would want to meet in a dark alley.
No.
And Heather, I don't know that I would want to see Heather mad. And Skylar is a pretty strong chick, man. I just, like, I'm looking at all of them and I'm like, I'm trying to answer your question from a real side and from a fantasy side where I'm like, you know what, real side, Matt would just, the bowl, he would you just build momentum and he would knock them all over like pins. In a fantasy side of it, that's because the reality is, right, in all of that, I'm like, Matt's one of the few males. Physical strength is going to win in a gladiator style situation, but
Don't forget about Trish.
No, well, but that's right. She said Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez, and I'm sitting there going, if it was collectively, I could see Trish sitting back going, Matt's going to win, so I'm going to sit back in the corner, and I'm going to wait for him to exhaust all of his energy, taking out the rest of him, and then I'm going to whip his ass, and I'm going to be the one that's going to walk out, because she's got enough brain that she would put that together and be like, I can't beat him until he exhausts his energy, so I'm going to let all of them gang up on him. He's still going to beat him, but he's going to be wore down, and then I'm going to whip his ass. Because Trish is the other one. I would not want to meet her in a dark alley. I would be, no, like, we've got a couple women in the group that I'm like, I would happily take them as bodyguards, and anybody that wanted to step to me, I would fear for them because they're bigger and they're more aggressive natured women that I would have no problem taking them as bodyguards. Okay, next question.
This is a more of a simple question, but what is like the most fun part of being a business owner?
The most fun part. Okay, so there are some things where I'm like, I want to speak for business people in general and all businesses, but I can't in this respect. My mother is very right-brained. No common sense. 3 degrees, incredibly intelligent. My father is heavily left-brained, excelled in math and science, is a dreamer, but doesn't have a creative bone in his body. I was blessed with both of them. So I literally, I equally dance between my left and my right brain. So my left brain appreciates the analytical and the crunching of numbers and the X equals Y equals Z, follow this formula, you get this result. My right brain loves that I can, with the menus, I have an endless amount of creativity that I can apply to the products, to the menus. So from a business owner perspective, I have enjoyed all of the different ways that my creative has been able to be expressed. It gets expressed in the flavor profiles. It gets expressed in the branding of the names. It gets expressed in the presentation of the product. Because I really do think on that granular of a level, like the kickin' wing, I don't want you guys just putting hot sauce and barbecue. Like, no, it's like that. I envision, you know, when you're looking at an image and it's circling and you see all of the circles and you kind of go into hypnotized, that I want to see good circles of barbecue sauce and circles of hot sauce in between, because I want to see a beautiful presentation, because you eat with your eyes. I want you to open the box and be like, that looks good. And that was based off of thinking, I could have been like a chef and told them the presentation is just a bunch of squiggly lines. But I was like, no, I want this presentation. And then I want another line inside of it. The business leaves me the ability to express my creativity in so many ways that side of my brain would be lacking if I didn't have a business for it to latch onto. I think that if I didn't have business, that I would find my way into a creative, maybe music, maybe art, I don't know, because I love music. And while I'm not much of an artist, I really do appreciate a good art piece. There, pieces of art can mentally and emotionally move me just by looking at them. But me being able to take that creative and apply to the brands and see other people resonate with it and see that it moves them in some way, or because I put a flavor profile together and married it to a name that they marry together so well that people flock to it, and I see that through the frequency of purchasing. Like, I know I've done something good, and that only came from the creative side. That's why I encourage you guys to say, I can't be the only person being creative. All of you have a creative bone in your body. In the kitchen, you got 50 toppings to work with. On the Coffee Junkiez side, they got 30 flavors to work with. And I'm like, so be creative, because I'm always looking for those new creative ideas to come to the table. Because when we opened, the menu was about half. And it has been getting the creative of all of you to come together that has truly built out the menu as a whole. So
I think the creativity is one of the best parts of both just looking at the business as a whole and personally working here. Mm-hmm. Like when you came out with the Asylum pizza, like I would have never thought of putting cinnamon sugar on a pizza and then mixed with everything else, but it works. Mm-hmm. Just being creative and making new types of pizzas, that, because respectfully, anyone, like in any pizza business, it's not too hard to just throw some cheese and pepperoni and just call that a pizza. But we have so many specialty pizzas, and the pepperoni mania is like custom here because we have the 3 different types of pepperoni, and there's just so many different pizzas that, I don't know, it's fun and creative and...
Well, no, and because the thing, that's from... I came up with the pepperoni mania because I'm a pepperoni lover. And it was like, I see what everybody else is doing, and I'm like, I can do this better. I can produce a better version. So I worked out how I could produce a better version of it, because each one of those pepperonis have a different type of flavor profile in itself, right down to the deli pepperoni and the diced pepperoni are under the cheese, so it doesn't get singed. That's why the small circle is on top of the cheese, so that you get that burnt small pepperoni as part of the flavor. I didn't create the asylum. The girl that created the asylum is no longer with us, but that was part of that encouraged creativity. The same way that I created the Soprano, but I didn't create the Ricky Bobby. There are pieces of the menu that there are people that have contributed that in their time with us, that they left a contribution. I didn't come up with the Alfredo sauce, but we make our Alfredo from scratch, and you know how much Alfredo we go through, because it was a contribution from a previous employee, where it's like, I'm able to apply my creative, but I open the door for all of you to apply your creative, and when we find something that's a home run, we go with it, because frankly, the Asylum, that's been a back pocket, 2 years?
That's 3 or 4.
3? Like, it's literally been a back pocket thing that we've had for several years now. And it was okay, it's time to roll out a new pizza. Let's go back to previous ideas. We're coming up on Halloween. Now's the time to roll out the Asylum. And yes, it was who the hell would think to put cinnamon and sugar on a pizza? But it does work. And then I get other people, well, why do you only put jalapenos on half of it? Well, I don't know. An Asylum is a crazy place. Like, of course, you would only put jalapenos on half of it. Like, the pizza's a little bit crazy, but it does work. I mean, so yes, it is this place is a creative outlet for a lot of reasons, and it has been for a lot of people. And I think that is a pretty cool thing, right down to, I don't know that anybody else in the world has been able to successfully incorporate a coffee shop and a pizza place and make it work well. Like, I've done nothing original per se necessarily in coffee or pizza, but putting them under one roof, I think, is very original. And it was nothing more than my brain being creative and thinking, I wonder what this looks like. Let's do it, and let's just find out what it looks like, because it created a whole host of problems that we've had to slowly sort through those problems to make it work as well as it does together. A lot of pain, a lot of lessons, a lot of testing, and just a lot of faith that the people together are willing to come together and sort out problems and make it work. So yeah, that's... No, you touched on a good one. It's been, because there is a ton of creativity and a ton of contribution from a lot of people. And even if they're not still here, I'm happy that I created an environment. And we go back to that safe space where it's, maybe I haven't created a safe environment, but I have created an environment where I encourage and I have been willing to embrace other people's creativity. Because again, we get back to the alpha thing. I don't have a need to take credit for everything. To create an environment to say, be creative. I'm a consummate tester. And if you do something, I'm not going to sit here and try and take credit for it. I think I've been able to create that space. So, yeah. Okay.
Just a simple one, because this is my last question, but do you have any future plans of opening up a new building? And if you did, like, out of city? I know there's already one in India, I believe, but would that create more problems for you going between multiple more different buildings?
No, that's what I said. When I left Chrysler, my goal was 50 stores in 5 years. Had I understood the principles of entrepreneurship and business, I might have been able to accomplish that. But I was leaving a factory. All I really had was, let's say, passion, burning desire, and a little knowledge of the food industry and mass manufacturing. But I had to figure it all out. So from my perspective, 50 stores in 5 years was a fallacy. I got up to 7, and then I burned it all down because I screwed it all up. And then we got down to 2. And we had to get smaller to give us an opportunity to get bigger. Franchising is a 50 stores in 50 states, is 2,500 operations, multi-billion-dollar business. Franchising is my vehicle because I don't have hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to open. Like Starbucks controls all of their stores because they have the money to open up all of their stores and it's all corporate ran. I don't have that. My whole goal is I have built something, and opening in Indianapolis was proving that the concept is duplicatable. And here we are with Indianapolis in its 7th year, because every time I started moving towards franchising, something else would happen. In 2020, I was ready to move into franchising, and we all know what happened in 2020. And then 2021, okay, let's start making a push towards franchising. Well, the consequence of what happened in 2020 was the supply chain started breaking in 2021, and it was rough just to keep pepperoni and bacon in the building. There were times where it was rough just to keep milk in the building. So it's been a small business, next problem, next hurdle to get over. We are finally getting everything together where we can start moving forward in franchising, because ultimately I want to see Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez become national brands, and with any luck, international brands. And ideally, I would like to be able to move around, and I just want to know that there's always a Coffee Junkiez close by for me to go to get my own coffee, because I am very much addicted to my coffee. So no, the whole thing at this point is I am ready for growth. I'm ready to open up more operations, because part of that is creating opportunities for people like you. I want people to be able to come into the stores and know that if it gets you the way that it's gotten some people, if it really affects you and you see a path for growth, that if you're an ambitious person, that I can foster that you have that ability, and that you apply that ambition to our brands, and that you have upward mobility. And the only way I can do that is by opening more stores, by franchising, which creates more opportunities inside of the overall organization. So with any luck, the franchising growth will only build upon itself, and it will only create more opportunities, because it's like when you hire somebody from the outside into management, you just never really know what you're going to get. I really like it when people are able to hire in as pizza builders and as baristas, and develop and grow into positions, and know that when they get into management positions, they're not just, oh, well, I'm stuck here. No, I want them to see that they can evolve into franchising positions that turn into more of keeping an eye on multiple stores and growing outside of their store itself. So it's a slow process just out of being a small business person, but just keep plowing, keep fighting, and keep growing.
That was my last question.
Okay, so now for my 2 questions. You can work anywhere. Why do you choose to work for me?
How personal can the answers get?
You can answer. I mean, I've tried to be as open and honest and real. So I'm just sitting there going, you feel free to answer it however you want to answer, dear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons that I really enjoy working here and why I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere else per se. I mean, I'm still young, so there's still so many job opportunities, but being here has been the best for me because everybody here is so kind and welcoming. I remember my first day I worked here, I was being trained by two people and they were just so sweet. It was technically my first job ever, and I've been homeschooled my whole life, so I have like no social interaction, and they were very patient with me and everybody was so kind. And like the months that I've been working here, there's been like some stuff going on in my life, like my parents getting divorced, but so like home life and stuff wasn't a constant, but there was one constant, and that was this place, because I knew when I come into work, my coworkers were going to be uplifting, they were going to be kind, and it was just a place I could go to that was just stable, and I knew I could go there and I could just put in my best work and be proud of the work I've done. And
Thank you for sharing that. I'm saying that because look, over the years, I've had to remind them, because we have not had that result and that success with everybody. And I hate to say this, that like a group of girls, like you can have some drama. And I've had to tell them, like, if I see cliques or I see mean girl stuff going on, like I'll bust that up. But I've had to remind all of them, everybody has a day one. So when you get in your mode and it's muscle memory, you could find yourself getting frustrated because you're working with somebody that's their day one. And you have to go back to your day one and realize that muscle memory was not there. It had to be built, and somebody else had to help them build it. So you need to be that somebody that helps somebody else on their day one. And there are times that I've had to remind them of that because they got frustrated by having to work with somebody on their day one. And I'm like, hey, we're supposed to be that group of people that we are welcoming. And if you want a good place to work, you shouldn't have to be worried about mean girl stuff where you get outcast because you can't come in acting like a pro on day one. And sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm preaching to the choir, and sometimes I'm echoing into the abyss and thinking that nobody's hearing me. So they're hearing me because you wouldn't say that if they weren't hearing me. And that is very important, because that is one of the biggest pieces to the onboarding, making people feel welcome and understanding that they're starting day one and they need to be taught those basics. And if you take that time, they can grow into being just as proficient and efficient and as pleasurable to work with as that person grew into that position itself. So that is awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. And I understand the parents divorcing side of it, and so I'm glad that we're able to be that place for you. So.
And with the family part, I'm sure you know my older sister, Michaela. She is very, very protective of me. And it was actually her idea that I come and work here. And she was one of my references. And it just says a lot that my older sister would recommend this place, because she knew it was going to be safe. And everybody here was just going to be patient with me because I have really bad anxiety. So just...
That is awesome. Well, and that's, I don't know how to be anything other than who I am, but I know that I come from a good place. And I say it like that because I've had past employees thank me for showing them how to be good employees. I've had people try and attack me online, and I've had past employees be like, You can say what you want about him, but he gave me the tools to succeed. It's a question of, are you utilizing those tools? And it comes back to that. You've got people that are in the victim mentality and they will always find a reason that they're being oppressed. And you've got people that they want to hold themselves accountable. And even in a bad separation or situation, they can look back and say, I was not a bad employer, that I want everybody to succeed. I just have to look out for the greater good of the whole as a group of people. So I think that that's awesome, because I've had to look back and realize that as a Gen X, I worked with a lot of baby boomers at Chrysler. I've employed a couple of them, but I didn't have a lot of opportunity to work with a lot of other Gen Xers. I was always working with millennials and Gen Z. And then the challenge was on me to understand the intricacies of your generation, because it's like, if I didn't understand where you were coming from, I wouldn't be able to effectively communicate with you. And if I couldn't communicate with you, I couldn't get the attention to the business and get the best result out of everybody in the group. It's just all the way across the board, from your sister to the people that onboarded you. I'm very happy to hear that you were happy that you came here, that you were well received, and that you view it as that constant. That is just absolutely awesome.
And I really appreciate all my coworkers and you as an owner for giving me the opportunity and bringing people that will uplift others and help others, even if, like you said, they're day one.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so last question. Why should other people patronize Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez?
Sorry, stupid question. What does patronize mean?
Do business with.
Yeah, do business with. Why should other people give us a try? Why should other people be customers of Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez?
Well, even if all my coworkers being so kind to me, it doesn't stop there. Kindness goes outside the kitchen, and even from behind, like the barista table. I've seen my sister with like the biggest smiles. There would be people that come through the drive-thru, whether it be old coworkers, regulars. There's a regular with the cutest dog ever, and every time she comes through, it just makes everyone smile.
Which dog?
It's like that tiny one that looks like a teddy bear, the brown one.
Dude, there is one that comes through here with an English bulldog, full-sized. It's like black and white brindle, and just the cutest. I'm like, give that dog 2 bones. How can you not? Because
Waste of the ball.
yeah, no, I get it, but wow, yes, no, because if you literally have your pet in the car, then that is a member of your family. So it's like, treat that animal like it's a member of your family. That is great.
So there's such like a good community with the regulars and stuff. And even if you aren't a regular or an old coworker, if you're a new person, you're always treated well when you come in. When I've gone up to bring the food up to the front, the baristas and other people will be very nice. Even if there's like a small mistake, like I remember when someone dropped a sandwich in front of the customer, but the customer was so sweet about it. And of course, mistakes, they will never happen again. But just the fact that there's a good community and we can just work together as people to keep that going.
Yep. No, and my thing is, mistakes are learning lessons. And there's nothing wrong with making a mistake as long as you're going to learn from it. The problem comes when you make the same mistake a second and the third time. That means you're not willing to learn from your mistakes and you're not willing to grow. So I'm okay with the mistake. Are you going to continually make the same mistake? Then I'll have a problem with it because I look at our customers and I'm like, small business, like we're not infallible. We're going to make mistakes. It's how do we rebound and correct that mistake? And that I'm looking back there going, we're not making the same mistake twice, are we? And as long as we're not continually making the same mistakes, then it's like, hey, I think that's been one of the, where I can be a little bit more refreshing. People will think like, I made a mistake, he's gonna freak out. Okay, one, as long as it's like the first time, I'm not gonna freak out. Don't sweep it under the rug, because if you're trying to hide it, I'll be more furious about you trying to hide it. I would much rather own it, learn from it, so that we can say, okay, you've made a mistake and you've learned from it. Great, it was a growth moment. Now let's move on. I don't necessarily need people dropping full bags of cheese on the floor, but that's not quite a mistake. That's Butterfingers. But I mean, he knows what I'm talking about. That was in my younger years. I didn't have the patience that I have today, and was hypercritical, and they dropped a bag of cheese on the floor, and I was like, who's going to pay for that? And he had no problem looking at me and being like, well, I guess you are. That's yeah.
I was just a driver then.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Thank you very much for doing this.
I was anxious at first, and like when I was sitting at home, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so scary. But it wasn't that bad.
No. That's what I said. It was just all supposed to be about just having a conversation.
You made me feel a lot more comfortable, so I appreciate it.
Wonderful. All right, that wraps it up. So until next time, have a great day. Powered by Coffee Junkiez and Pizza Junkiez.